Hello and welcome to the Safety and Awareness Podcast, where we dive into the systems that keep us informed and safe. I'm your host, Anthony Shawr, and today we're going to be exploring trigger warnings, public alerts, and Amber Alerts. Buckle up because it's about to get informative yet mildly entertaining. Trigger warning. This document contains scenes that may depict, mention, or discuss anxiety, assault, attempted murder, bullying, car accident, child abuse, child death, depression, drugs, emotional abuse, gun violence, hostages, human trafficking, kidnapping, mass shooting, needles, physical abuse, PTSD, racism, school shootings, self-harm, slavery, spiders, stalking, terrorism, violence. Let's begin with trigger warnings. These can be found literally everywhere, as most companies are very much encouraged to use them to alert their audience of what's to come next. The trigger warnings, seen from the example recently, all have a list of some triggers that they used in their intros or statements in their documents. Trigger warnings happen before a lecture or a video on traumatic events that could be anything considered offensive. This gives people, especially those with PTSD, a heads up. So what are the pros of trigger warnings? Well, they support mental health. They let people choose whether to engage or not, depending on the material. Let's say if something says guns and violence, it's obviously not high road appropriate. But it is insightful, I guess. Okay, the cons. So, they take up so much time in movies. Maybe not so much movies, but video games, they always have to start out with like 5 seconds of intros, and they gotta do disclosure, and all events are not real, something like that. But, they also, some of the other cons is they make people who suffer from mental health suffer more? Yeah, they aren't really helping them in any way and can cause stress and anxiety. A nationwide college survey in the US is conducted, and only 17% of the people thought that trigger warnings were actually useful. Meanwhile, the other 83% thought that they actually had a negative impact, or that they were completely useless and had no place. Interesting. And my personal opinion lies with the 83% that thought that trigger warnings don't help and don't really do anything at all. Some of the trigger words that are used are not even that scary. Come on, spiders, needles, really? I know some people genuinely struggle with that kind of stuff, but the warnings seem just a little bit pointless. Moving on to public alerts. These news networks are the unsung heroes of emergency communication, blasting out urgent information about hazards like severe weather conditions or natural disasters, blizzards, shootings, or the difference between Donald Trump and a wet raccoon. Public alerts cover radio, TV, and wireless devices, helping to keep everyone in the loop and hopefully out of harm's way. The downsides is that sometimes there's false alarms or misuse of information that can cause unnecessary panic, and sometimes, if overused enough, people might just start ignoring them altogether. But here are the main things that broadcasting networks and other public alerts have to look at. They have to look at if it's a threat to human life, if the threat is immediate, if the meteor is going to take about 14 days for it to hit Earth, then obviously it's not, I don't know how immediate 14 days is, but it's not that immediate. Are there recommended actions that might save lives? Like maybe if the meteor is going to happen in 14 days, perhaps pick up your house and move out of the way, kind of thing that they would say. After all these things are checked off, they typically send an emergency message to the news, and the news just broadcast it, send it out there, or even people in the affected area of, let's just say, the meteor did hit them, or was like an inch away from hitting them, then they would send an emergency text message to them. Even if they're in like remote places, they have very good networking systems and stuff. I think ultimately, out of the 3 alerts gone over, the public alert systems are the most important and arguably effective. In BC, we have many great companies like the Ministry of Emergency Management and Climate Readiness, or the EMCR, who have saved many lives by sending an emergency message to people near raging wildfires or blizzards, flooding, or near immediate danger. Although we might make fun of the news networks because of the political sides, we can still all appreciate their insight on emergencies, like even looking back to the floodings of 2021. Now, let's talk Amber Alerts. These guys are the special ops of the alert systems, and they're used for child abductions where there's imminent danger. Amber Alerts are like an all-points bulletin, spreading information about the child, abductor, and really any vehicles involved. Now the pros, they mobilize the community, I guess. They save children's lives, catch the abductor and keep him in the jail basement forever. And they also spread vital information quickly. The cons, they do require a lot of resources and coordination and kind of process guidelines. And the actual Amber company guideline is the child must be under 18 years of age. So let's just say the child is 19. The person is 19 because they're not a child anymore. Must be confirmation that the child has been abducted. Police must have sufficient information to make a search for the child possible, such as description of the child, abductor, accomplices, or the suspect's vehicle. And lastly, police must believe the child is in serious imminent danger and be convinced a broadcast will actually help find the child. Now these guidelines are great and all, but they have prevented cases in the past from being brought forth. Although when the guidelines have been met and there's enough information, they are actually a game changer. Although some may hate Amber Alerts because they already know their license plates and what their car looks like. Now the real question is do Amber Alerts work? For the most part, and most commonly, yes, they have been successful in saving hundreds, if not thousands of children's lives each year. Although sometimes the situation doesn't work out, the abductor switches vehicles, there's just a whole bunch of different variables where maybe they lost them or something like that, but that kind of takes away from the effectiveness. Although we might ignore these alerts or annoying starts to our day because we forgot to turn our phones on silent, Amber Alerts have been really helpful for those who notice a black Pontiac Firebird driving away with 3 stuffed kids inside. I think they could maybe tweak the guidelines a bit so that Amber Alerts can become even more helpful and save even more people, assuming that they have enough info to send out the alert. Overall, I think Amber Alerts are pretty good. Now to wrap it all up, each system, trigger warnings, public alerts, and Amber Alerts, they all play a unique role in keeping us informed and safe. I personally think all of them have a place and can be beneficial to everyone, though each has their own problem to sort out. I still think trigger warnings aren't that effective, and that Amber Alerts could be mildly changed to save more lives and whatnot. So, that's about it, folks. Thanks for joining me in this so very exciting tour of safety systems. If you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to subscribe, ring the bell, share it with others. Stay safe, stay informed, and remember, don't ignore those alerts. A child might have just been abducted and your phones were on silent.